Welcome. I'm glad to see so many members of the board here, as well as everyone from our local media family. I think you all know me, Gary Douglas, President and CEO of the Plattsburgh North Country Chamber. On behalf of the Chamber, welcome to this historic occasion. You're all special guests, but let me point out a few very special guests, including my boss, the Chairman of the Plattsburgh North Country Chamber, Patrick Russell. Pat. New York Chair of the Quebec New York Corridor Coalition, Steve Kelso. I see here representing our good Senator Betty Little, Paul Maroon. To my guests, Benoit, I get to say something I say frequently, including a couple of times at his events. Welcome to Montreal's U.S. Open. And in fact, today more than ever, we make that an acknowledged reality, and I think that's exciting for the Plattsburgh North Country region. Several years ago, this chamber began a very positive working relationship with Ben's organization. In fact, at that time, he was president of the Montreal World Trade Center, and we began a relationship with the World Trade Center that continues to this day, and with the Board of Trade, with Ben's predecessor, in their transportation committee, working on transportation issues. So this isn't a new relationship. It's one that's been around for several years, one that's been positive and valuable. It's an acknowledgement that it's time to take it up a notch. In fact, take it up several notches, both because of how well we get along, because of the important work we see on the agenda that we need to work together on even more than in the past, and because of what's been happening within this economic region, which has been bringing all of us closer together than ever before. In fact, during this period of the last several years when we've been working on various things together, in fact, I might point out in terms of the World Trade Center partnership, the World Trade Center is a division of the Montreal Board of Trade. In just about 45 minutes, we're going to be welcoming 17 Quebec furniture manufacturers who are going to spend the afternoon with us here at the Chamber as part of a continuing series of collaborative missions that we do with the Board of Trade to help Quebec companies learn how to maximize their opportunities here in the U.S. marketplace and succeed here. Because we know we're part of Montreal, and when they succeed, we succeed, and vice versa. So that's going on this afternoon. It's an important example of the tangible activities we've been taking part in together. But over these last several years, as we've done these initial things together, a number of extraordinary things have been occurring. We have, in fact, been tangibly evolving into a new status as Montreal's U.S. suburb, particularly Montreal's corporate suburb in the U.S. The numbers confirm it. $1.3 billion U.S. economic impact in 2002 from this cross-border relationship in all of its dimensions. 160, we estimate, Quebec-based companies with some sort of physical presence in the Plattsburgh area, ranging from a one-person sales office to Bombardier employing almost 1,000 people, and a whole range in between. We are, in fact, a beachhead for the Montreal business community in those things that it's strategically important for them to do on this side of the border as part of their growth strategy, not relocation, but as part of their growth strategy in the U.S. marketplace. There comes a time when part of their operations as they grow will be in the U.S., it will be somewhere in the U.S., and the fact that Montreal is so close to the border and has a community like Plattsburgh just 1 hour down the road is a strategic advantage to those companies to have a proximate community so well located and so welcoming and so expert as the numbers of professional service particularly indicate in servicing their needs here and helping them succeed. And then we've also seen on an even bigger level the rapid emergence of the Quebec-New York corridor as a much broader binational economic region within which Montreal is the big driving force up north, driving the activity down through that corridor, and again, Plattsburgh is Montreal's U.S. suburb, being that hub and that gateway community on this side of the border as part of that expanding region. And so it just simply becomes more important than ever that we find ways on a day-to-day basis to make the links between the Montreal business community and the Plattsburgh North Country business community broader, deeper, and more active than they have been in the past, and to institutionalize that so it becomes the routine. It isn't something exceptional that you do now and then for some reason, but it simply is routine. That if you're in business in Plattsburgh, you're going to take advantage and network with your colleagues in downtown. And if you're in Montreal, you're going to network network and know your colleagues here in the Plattsburgh area. And that's what this agreement does. It takes us those extra steps to institutionalize this relationship, to further and deepen and broaden those opportunities for day-to-day collaboration and networking and relationship building, business to business, business person to business person, within what we see as a common region. But then I have to say, for all the details and all of the commitments that are in this agreement, and there are a number of them, and Ben will touch on a few of them. We'll both be happy to answer questions after. The most satisfying thing for us here at the Plattsburgh North Country Chamber is that we are, in fact, today, I suggest, being embraced fully and officially in a very tangible way as partners in the very exciting future of greater metropolitan Montreal. And we thank you for welcoming us in that spirit of partnership. We just had a great half hour with Ben talking about the border project, the Quebec-New York corridor, other things that of strategic importance that we need to work on together more than ever. Helping Quebec and Washington, Montreal Board of Trade helping us with access in Ottawa and Quebec City to the things that matter to us collectively. It's my great pleasure and my great honor at this time, before we do the deed of signing this agreement and then answering your questions, to introduce my friend and my colleague Benoit Labonte, who is the President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan Montreal. And in doing so, I have a gift to present him that seals this friendship and makes it as warm and fuzzy as it could possibly be. Well, thank you very much. Sammy symbolizes the very special and historic relationship between Quebec and the Plattsburgh area. There's a story that goes with it that we could go together.
Wait for my counterpart when you come back in Montreal.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gary. Mr. Chairman of the board, Gary, members of the board of directors, ladies and gentlemen, bonjour. Because English is my second language, you will allow me some notes, not to offend my great friend and the spirit of this agreement. Gary just mentioned, and was quite impressed by the 1.3 billion of dollar US dollars economic impact for Plattsburgh, the trade between Quebec, more specifically Montreal and Plattsburgh. So I made a very quick calculation trying to transform that into Canadian dollars, and the result was $132 billion. Very impressive. I am very, very pleased to be here today in Plattsburgh to announce and to sign this new partnership agreement between the Plattsburgh North Country Chamber of Commerce and the Board of Trade of Metropolitan Montreal. For our Board of Trade, this agreement, as I mentioned, when Ambassador Cellucci was, U.S. Ambassador Cellucci to Canada was the recent meeting of the Board of Trade. This agreement symbolizes for us the fact that Canada and the United States must continue to nourish the many fruitful ties they have shared for so many decades. And developed in a spirit of rapprochement, this partnership between our two organizations is a further extension of the collaboration that has existed, as Gary mentioned, between our two organizations for the past few years, among other things, through the Board of Trade's service branch, the World Trade Center Montreal. Our two organizations plan to pursue their active and cooperative efforts on the subject of common interests, such as cross-border trade at the Champlain-Lacolle border crossing, government affairs, and issues affecting both Greater Montreal and the Plattsburgh region, as well as the Quebec-New York corridor. But moreover, this agreement between our two boards of trade will also promote exchanges between our respective members and thus contribute to the activities of their companies beyond their respective borders. From a broader perspective, it is very important to mention that this partnership that we will sign today stems from a shared desire to stimulate the development of our bi-national economic region, and thus recognizing the strategic importance of Plattsburgh and Champlain-Water for Montreal. This is particularly important in the current global context of interdependence, where our prosperity depends not only on competitiveness of large urban centers, but also on the drawing power of major economic regions that we are. In conclusion, I would like to warmly thank my colleague and friend and counterpart, Gary Douglas, whose openness and energy contributed greatly to the development of this new and promising business alliance. Thank you.
Let's sign this. Sure. Before you change your mind.
It's my pleasure. I will not. I will not. So you cannot divorce now.
Okay. Our good Assemblyman Chris Arveloff is with us. Chris, welcome. Glad you could join us. We're happy to entertain some questions. There is a prepared release there on the end of the table. You can pick up one of those on your way out if you didn't get one. Questions?
Are there any specific projects in the works right now?
Well, let me describe the agreement in a little more detail. The basic thing that it does for our members, the most tangible thing that it does starting today, is that it makes all of the members of the Plattsburgh North Country Chamber of Commerce an associate member of the Board of Trade and vice versa. And the intent of that is to give one another as members access at member rates to each other's events. To networking mixers and luncheons and breakfasts and seminars and trade expos and so on, which recognizes that both business communities are part of a common economic region, and so the more we can get them interacting and meeting each other and networking with each other, the better for everyone. So for all of our Plattsburgh North Country Chamber members, you'll start receiving occasional information on the events that the Benz organization is putting on in Montreal that we're going to be encouraging them to take advantage of. Go up as members and join in those events. And I don't get to go as frequently as I'd like, but I'll tell you, I never leave one of these events that the Board of Trade puts on. That never mind the outstanding speakers and programs, but I never leave without meeting at least one very valuable contact at whatever table I happen to be at. So there's some real power in that over time. But then we are working together on the border project. I believe Ben will be very helpful over the next couple of years in his organization in terms of as we turn more of our attention now to the locale situation and the other side of the border. We've got things moving on this side of the border. Our total vision for a port of excellence at Champlain locale really is to see the same kind of vision brought to the future of the facilities, services, staffing, technology at locale as at Champlain. So I think that's the most immediate thing on the agenda. Ben?
Yeah, no, just to add on that, I totally agree. The new investments that will be made at the border on the U.S. side are very important for our companies. When we know that more than 100 trucks cross the border daily, it's very nice, and we're very happy to have facilities renewed on the U.S. side, but the question remains totally open on the Canadian side. And we have a big job to do there to make sure that the investments are made on the Canadian side of the border to equal the investments made on the other, and that will be a key priority for us. I should say something else. Probably Gary's too modest to mention it, but he was referring to activities, breakfast luncheon, conference luncheon organized by the Board of Trade. Last time he came, he was one of our guest of honor for Premier Charest. speech of the Board of Trade, and Premier Charret was referring to the Quebec-New York corridor, recognizing the presence of rightly so, of Gary at the table and completely forgotten us. So that shows the importance of and the quality of the work and Gary's doing on the other side of the border. So we will probably invite again Gary. It's good for us.
This does create, I mean, we're, as all of you know locally, we've been great believers at this chamber, both in partnership, but not in partnership as an end in itself, but in the power of partnership. And that when you put strong organizations together and you put their membership numbers together, you increase the power. The sum is greater than, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I think this is clearly one of those situations. Benoit's organization has approximately 7,000 members at present. We have approximately 2,400 in our chamber today. This gets us close to being a 10,000 member cross-border business coalition. And I expect that some of the power, some of the benefits that are going to come out of this partnership, we don't know yet. And we can't say we're going to do X, Y, and Z here today. But you put those numbers, you put those two powerful organizations together, as we've experienced with our partnership with the Lake Placid Visitors Bureau and et cetera. You start talking and working together more, you invariably find ways to put those numbers and those organizations together behind things that you don't realize now that are going to come up because now you're talking about opportunities.
Because I should mention also that more and more we have to think when we are talking about economic development in terms of region, and not only one city against another city, but one region competing with another region elsewhere in the world. And because the strategic importance of Plattsburgh for our economy is the main gate for our commerce, our trade with the United States, Plattsburgh is clearly part of our new binational economic region. And we're in the same bowl, if I may say. We're in the same economic region, and we have to think more and more regionally as well. And Ottawa, also the city of Ottawa, who is very powerful economically, more and more powerful economically, is also part of the economic region. And one action we will take also with our counterparts in Ottawa is to try to attract them to Montreal, to encourage them and to make them know the benefits they have to cross the border on this side rather than go through southern Ontario. So that will be our engagement to try to develop the reflex of thinking as an economic region being bi-provincial and bi-national. We're part of the same game together now, and that's very important. That's the spirit also behind this agreement.
Any questions?
Word to clear.
Chris, would you like to, we have one of our state legislators with us, would you like to offer any remarks?
Uncharacteristically, obviously it's very impressive, and we should both be congratulated and your members for supporting your efforts. I agree with you completely about the value of partnerships and the critical mass of membership, and I look forward, as you do, both, to unforeseen benefits yet to come. Thanks for your work.
Anything else? Okay.
Good.